Okay.
Hi, everybody. It's Linda G, and here is Andre.
Hi,
And
everyone.
I've been having hell of a time with my computer, and this is on Zoom, you guys, for my mediumship people that I had to cancel because we tried to come on. Something's going on with YouTube. So hopefully this will be on today, May 12th, but it might be on tomorrow, depending. So we were discussing what's going to happen with Roe versus Wade. My instinct, my initial hit, well, I know they're handing the Democrats the midterms on a silver platter.
Yeah, true. That's true. And that fits really well with what I was seeing last year as this swath being really good for Democrats. And then I think the Ukraine war helps Biden the way his chart looks. And this is another factor because they're moving against something that has 70% approval. That's never good in voting. And the other thing is that the way Trump is doing it, he's causing a lot of nut jobs to win, like literally, I mean, really, really stupid or crazy people to win the primaries, but then they can lose to Democrats. I heard today that they're sort of like, remember that Missouri, or I think it was Missouri, Aiken, who he said something like back in the Claire McCaskill thing, he said that something about rape being, I don't know, he bungled it really badly. He made a statement about rape that was horrible, and she just played it over and over again, and she won the race easily. So these guys that Trump is promoting are similar, and they risk, upending a lot of Senate.
Well, one of the primaries that Trump wanted the guy to win, who was being sued for sexual harassment or groping women,
He lost.
He didn't win.
Right. Well, I mean, this is the thing that from the vantage point of Democrats doing better, it's almost better if his candidates do win, because he's promoting, people that are, the election was stolen, QAnon type of insanity. And that's how you then, hand it to the other side, because.
And the other thing is they're blowing it over. They're saying IUDs for murder. No, women can't have this. Women have to have a pregnancy test before they leave the state. What the heck kind of bull is that?
It's bull.
It's crazy.
It's total bull. Yeah, no, this is the thing. I mean, I don't see how the logic of this is completely nuts, because you can't, 50-year precedent and at least 2/3 of the country backing it. It just doesn't make any sense. And, I bet you anything that's what Roberts is saying to Kavanaugh. He's saying, listen, this doesn't make any sense. If we do this, we're probably putting ourselves at risk. Never mind credibility, because credibility, they're already kind of lost with that.
Right.
The idea that you do things like this, you encourage the Congress to bring in more judges and level things out, because it's too partisan. This kind of behavior is, it's one thing to say, okay, well, half the country wants it and half the country doesn't want it. We're in charge. We'll pass a law that benefits us. But that's like less than 1/3 of the country. It's crazy, and something that has been there for 5 decades. Completely crazy.
And they have them on film in almost every show I see. They're replaying. Even what's his name?
Alito, yeah.
Alito.
Yeah.
Him telling his confirmation. This is precedent. I wouldn't touch this.
Alito and Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, all three, looking in the camera. Actually, the one that hedged more was Coney Barrett. She kind of finessed it a bit, but the other three, straight into the camera. Yeah. And the thing is, in astrology, now, first I'll give the caveat, which is that my specialty is individual charts of people, because that's what I've studied the most. And when you're doing the origin of an event, which is the same idea, because person's chart is when they're born, that's the origin. It's a little bit more tricky in that you sometimes can't find a good, really solid argument to say, well, that would be the beginning. That's why you then get, for instance, several charts for a country, people that say, no, the country started when they signed something. I like to use the one where the public was informed, because I want them to be part of the equation. I think it works better. Roe, the chart that's online at Astro Data Bank labeled a Class A chart, they're saying it was the day that the law was announced, 10 a.m. Washington, because that's when the court convenes and says, okay, here it is, which makes sense because that's when the law becomes law. That from that point forward, you got to do what that law says, right?
Okay.
So if I look at that chart, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, the chart, based on what's happened before, because it's been around 50 years, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, one analysis that I'm going to be putting up soon is doing or looking astrologically at what Casey versus Planned Parenthood did to Roe. And it is there in that Roe's chart, you can see that it's an event that is due to be restricted in some way, you know, as the years pass, because it's got a really restrictive energy in there. And that's what happened in 92, right? And that the Saturn position was similar in 92 to today, because it's a full cycle coming around. So then you'd say, okay, well, restrictions. That would be the logical thing that they would announce, we're going to bring in more restrictions, right? Which still leave the law in place. But the way it's sounded from the leak is no, they're going to just, that's it. They're going to tell us it's over. No more Roe. We're not, the law no longer exists.
Right.
That just doesn't seem to fit the chart. But maybe it's because origin charts don't work as well as they should. I don't know. I don't know how I would explain that. If they actually announce in June or July, that's it, no more Roe, you know, overnight.
Well, they're handing it in a great big bucket with rainbows and champagne, and Democrats get ready to party because
Right. Right. You know, unless it turns out that the origin chart vibrates properly as per origin charts, and then someone like Kavanaugh, for example, goes along with Roberts, and then
well,
they
that's
issue.
my hit. My first hit was that someone within those justices will say,
They're not going to do
it's
it.
not
Right.
that we're afraid about people marching in their houses. They really think there's something. They really think they're all that in a cup of tea, but they have no respect now from the nation. So, you know, I just feel that maybe even Kavanaugh says, you know what, Alito, you were a little too harsh. You're using 16th century from a guy that burned women at the stake. Not a good look, not very good. Maybe
Right.
they'll stick with the 15-week. They might, you know, comparatively try something, but these states are going crazy.
Well, they're anticipating, in a way, you know, they're going with what the leak said, right? But see, this is the other thing now, that the leak, what it does is, now it doesn't matter what they do, because if they bring the law down, well, then there's going to be massive rage because they bring the law down. If they don't bring the law down, people are going to go, wait a second. Now you're keeping the law, again, on a 5-4 decision, really tight. We saw what you were trying to do. The damage is done, right? You still go into the election with women are going to be voting more rather than less. So they've
Right.
handed the Democrats a lot of extra fuel, no matter what they do, because it's pretty unlikely. I mean, what are the odds that they come out and say, do like 7-2 to keep it the way it is? Unlikely.
No.
Unlikely. Thomas and Alito for sure, and Gorsuch and Coney Barrett, they sound like, I mean, Coney Barrett's view of pregnancy is, she just says, well, you should just have the child and like leave it at the bus stop, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, it's pretty crazy.
Oh, and these other Republicans are writing on Twitter. Yeah, so what's wrong with that? Have the baby and give it up for adoption. What's wrong with that? It's like you do realize there's 400,000 children in foster care as we speak. A lot of them lost their parents due to COVID. So I don't recall seeing you taking up any foster kids.
Yeah, well, and by the way, that the message to men there is, why don't you have the baby and put it up for adoption? I mean, what the hell, right? Isn't it incredible? You know, by the way, one of the quarrels with this is that when it was passed in 73, the reference is that it was due to the Privacy Act, which makes perfect sense. What is more relevant when you say to a woman, this is your private life, this is your privacy, of course.
Her and her doctor.
That's the constitutional right that every person has, the right to privacy. What is more personal and private than that, right? Now, Alito is saying egregiously wrong, that shouldn't really fit. What you're doing is you're enraging the whole gender because they're going to say, well, wait a minute, who gives you the right to decide like this? It's crazy. It's completely crazy. I mean,
and in the meantime, men can get, that stuff to help them keep an erection or have an erection. In the meantime, all that stuff is legal, but you know what? Let's criminalize sperm.
yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah.
starts with that. Now, woman can't do it by herself, but there's a lot of good men out there that really don't like this either.
Yeah, well, you couldn't get a 60 to 70, sometimes even higher than 70% tilt
Without including men.
without, the other thing that happened, I don't know if you caught this. This was a subtle thing. I had to hear it, carefully, because so you know how they put up the bill and it was rejected and Manchin voted against it, right?
Yeah.
And I think what Schumer is thinking is that he does this because what they did, the reason Manchin voted against it is because the Democrats, i.e. Schumer, he didn't just put a bill through to keep it the same way. He put in the bill way more stuff that was going to kill like 500 laws that are part of the state, all the different states. So he was going way beyond it. And I think what Schumer is thinking is if the court says it's done, then he'll put it to the floor, trying to bring in Murkowski and Collins and Manchin by just keeping it the way it is, because then he'll have a bipartisan bill where they're saying, look, I mean, we just want to keep it the same way, because as it stands with the one that was defeated 51-49, the argument is you weren't just trying to keep it the same way. You were trying to, expand it.
Right.
So that was here. I have to say that I already saw fundraisers calling Manchin, all kinds of names. I think Manchin there has a pretty good case, in my opinion, to say, because Manchin said, when you do that, you divide the country. He's right, because if you just keep it the same, then all you're saying is don't mess with it. It's fine the way it is, right?
No, but now they're stamping him with he's against women's rights. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I'm
either
telling
way.
you, when I heard this leak thing, I just felt boom. This is going to it's just like COVID handed Trump his walking papers. I mean, it's just certain things are just going to happen because everybody's saying, how will it happen? Biden's numbers are still down. I'm telling you, he's going up.
Yeah, no, you can see, like the curious thing is in the astrology, the planet placement that really benefits Biden, it's in the 9th house, right? In the 9th, it has multiple meanings. One of them is international affairs, hence the thing with Ukraine, because the way that broke, Putin had this idea that Biden was going to chicken out, and Biden did the opposite, which is a huge problem for Putin. And you notice, by the way, he asked for 33 and they gave him 40 billion. Did you hear that? I mean, and that was, everybody voted except for, again, the nut jobs like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Paul Gosar and those guys, right? But the other meaning of the 9th, it's the place of laws. So if you've got a really good alignment to that house, it suggests that the legal area, laws, etc., are to your benefit. So either it's because it doesn't matter whether they append it or not, they take it out in part. The whole idea of the legality of it helps Biden, because the other thing too is the place where Jupiter is transiting in Biden's chart is the area of reproductive rights. It fits perfectly, right, with this being what helps him in 2022 going into the election, right? So yeah, it's a perfect fit. No doubt about it. Now
listen, you were telling me you took a look-see at Kavanaugh. Senator Whitehouse has asked the DOJ for the FBI this time to do a thorough investigation. They did not do one at all. And it's because Trump said, don't investigate him.
Yeah, of course.
So what was his chart looking like, Kavanaugh?
Well, his shows, like there's if you're looking at astrology events, there's a important station of Saturn in early June that for someone like Kavanaugh is not happy energy. Now, I don't have his birth time to try to pin it a little more, but I know that energy well. It's not happy. So one example would be if you looked at his situation in the court, he can't win here because if he goes with Roberts, he's going to look bad to the right. And if he doesn't go with Roberts, he's going to look bad to the left. And then there's this thing that you bring up, which adds further worries. So yeah, his chart definitely. I remember doing a video on him last year saying, 2022 is not really a good year for this guy, but you just don't know what it would be because, they're in
Well,
this.
everybody wants to know who paid off all his debt.
Yeah, no, I know. There's something about Kavanaugh. You can just
The
tell.
White House is big time, want an investigation on the Supreme Court about this dark money that's been taking care of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing with this, sometimes it's just common sense. When you get a guy that reacted the way he did during the confirmation, what are the odds that a person like that?
When he started crying and saying this was a Hillary Clinton get job, I thought that would have discarded him right then and there, just for bringing, then he can't be fair. He was calling Hillary Clinton out on his thing. This is a Hillary Clinton get job. And I thought, oh, there's no way he's going to win now. And he won.
Well, I mean, I don't know that he won. He was held up by the way the GOP plays. I don't even know if he murdered someone, if it would be enough, because short of murder, they don't seem to care about anything. I mean, can you imagine they're backing molesters and rapists, and because their voters, for the most part, it's just that's really dangerous though, because see, one of the things that when you're doing political analysis is, especially in the Senate, because in the Senate you have to run statewide, right? So the way you can be successful is in a House seat, you gerrymander, and then you've got this group of all, QAnoners voting for you. But when you go statewide, everybody votes. And then that undecided, independent will always vote against the nut jobs. So that's how you lose Senate seats, as an example, right? Okay. But in the House, they can manipulate a little more. And with Trump on the scene, he keeps, promoting, Dr. Oz, who, by the way, that's the other thing. They're all on record saying the exact opposite of what they're promoting now, because Oz used to say everything the opposite of what he says now. What about Kevin McCarthy? Same thing. And they just got subpoenaed today. I don't know if you saw that. Kevin McCarthy. Right. So, it's this kind of thing is never good going into an election, because it's not like you got to get everybody. But if you've got ads out there and you contrast and you say, look, this is what he said here, and now he says this, it doesn't make you look good. I mean, it makes you look like a fool. And those people that are kind of wondering, which way should I vote? The ones that are already in your camp, whatever, right? They're going to be in your camp.
Well, Jesus Christ, Andre, there is a fence around the Supreme Court. That's how bad it is.
There's a fence.
By the way, the Supreme Court told Planned Parenthood, you can't put a fence up. They have a right to protest.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, I swear we're like in the era of like just full out hypocrisy. I mean, you just blatant,
And the other thing, there's no plans. This is what we're going to do to help you, your coverage, your medical coverage, to have a child, to help you, coverage for this and that, and for the child, medical care for the child. Oh no, they're not going to get into that. No. Well,
and the more disturbing part is that they're even, starting to dig into things like, the morning after pill and things like that. So even like can you imagine, talk about violating someone's privacy? I mean, give me a break. What are you talking about? This is the era of, I swear, patriarchal men. And, it always ends up being, you play like this, you get unintended consequences. Yes. It's very, very similar to Putin's gamble. He makes a gamble. What did he get? The total opposite, what he was seeking. He wanted to disperse NATO. Now he's got Finland,
everybody's joining up.
Right, which is the total opposite. So if he was worried, he's even more worried. Here, you play these games. What ends up happening is, because it's such a big social force, it's inevitable. My sense is that you look 2, 3, 4 years from now, Roe will be stronger than today. That's my sense.
Oh, wow. Now listen, inside scoop, some insiders are talking that he really is terminally ill.
Putin? Yeah, no, that does not surprise me, because the thing about Putin is that it's that thing where you're channeling a lot of death aspects in your chart. And so one way to look at it is, well, look what he's doing. He's killing everything. He's killing everyone. So that's the death that way. But it's also your chart. It's you yourself. And there are multiple things in that chart pointing to health. Doesn't surprise me one bit. Yeah. So he's definitely at risk, right? But you think you feel it's terminal? Like,
yes, he's getting ready. He's getting ready.
So then, hadn't you said about him running, like you saw him
But
leading the country.
I think the sicker he gets, the more he's going to act out and people will be chasing him down. I think he'll still act out, but I feel like you can see by the look on his face, he's on some steroid or something.
Well, the puffiness, yeah, for
Blown
sure.
up. And whoever wrote this article said that an inside Russian article said that he has blood cancer.
It definitely fits the chart. I'll just say that. There's multiple points. And not only that, and here's where it gets really dangerous. When you have a diagnosis of any type, you look at a chart, and what can save you is you might see a 1 year, or maybe at most 2 years, but especially if it's 1 year would be ideal, where then you see it change. But then you get charts where it starts and it doesn't stop. It'll go on for 5, 6, 7 years. His is that type of chart. It continues.
Oh, he's been fighting something for a while then.
Yeah, no, and now he's in that territory where things don't get better, they get worse. And as a result, it's totally possible that, for example, he would have to quit because of his health, and it wouldn't be a made-up statement. It would be true, because sometimes politicians say that.
Or maybe even his own organization takes advantage of the fact when he's down, flat down, they take advantage of it.
Yeah, that, by the way, this is one of the things that, but almost like a life rule, I've spotted this, where if your health declines, like you're feeling, your well-being, your fortune tends to decline as well. It's really, really difficult to keep.
That is so true.
Really, really hard. As soon as your energy lowers and you feel more disconnected, you're basically screwed.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard. It's like you start to notice your luck changing, and you think it's random, but it's because your energy is lower and you have less magnetism, and you start to actually pull in, because it's, negative magnetism is also distorted magnetism. Like you get more negative and more, so then that's what you pull in.
That happened in my life. I know exactly what that is.
And
so listen, any hits on Trump lately?
Trump, it's much the same as I've been saying all along. It's a constant, increasing decline. The period we're going into now, that is like a rising curve, peaks around the end of July, is not good at all for his legal affairs. And you can see what's happening, that there are all these all of a sudden there's a grand jury in Georgia. We're about to, the early June, we're entering into the January 6th committee. I've always thought
DOJ just did, they're asking the records people. I think they've got a grand jury. They're checking out what he did with all that material he took back to Mar-a-Lago.
I mean, Trump, like that way, he's such a poster boy for karma, because he spent so much time going after Hillary. She's a crook. Look what she did with her emails. And then he went and did something even worse. He took all these records. That is completely illegal.
Right. And they all use their private phones, by the way. The whole thing.
It's the hypocrisy it's so blatant. So this guy, it's going into a really rough summer. And the thing is, because he's the classic, like what I was saying earlier about, if you get into a health problem in it last year, you're really screwed. This guy has got financial, tax, and legal problems that are like that for years, because 2023 is worse than 2022, right? That's when Saturn comes in and plows into him. In 2024, it's doing the same thing. So he is all at once getting into more and more trouble, and he's bringing the GOP down because they still follow him, and so they're promoting his candidates. And I keep hearing that McConnell is furious, because McConnell knows that if they just kept their head down, they would probably get the Senate and the House. And Trump is making sure they're going to lose both. So, it's really interesting. Lindsey Graham should have listened to himself when he first said what he thought. When he first was asked, he said, if we elect Trump, we will destroy ourselves.
And
that was the correct thought.
And we deserve it, he said.
We deserve it. This guy, he's a total loser. Everything he touches, he destroys, because he's not a smart man. He's an idiot. I wish they would realize that, but
They know it. They know it. Insiders know it, but they're afraid to touch him.
I guess, yeah, because it's, in a way, the irony is that he's captivated, almost mentally enslaved, a big swath of the GOP electorate. So they can't say, stop following this guy, because then those people will get mad. So
Right, but a bunch of governors are going to petition or help Brian Kemp, because Trump wants Kemp out.
Yeah. He's back in.
So-
He's back in Purdue. Is it he's backing the same guy that lost it for him back in? Remember that he backed him for. That's how they lost Warnock and.
Yeah, because he got mad at him
Okay.
because he didn't reverse the ballots.
Yeah, no, I know, and I mean,
Do it. Kemp wouldn't do it. So Trump, he's a loser. So Trump wants him out. And now when he finds out all these Republican governors are pro Kemp, then now he's calling them rhinos, all of them rhinos.
yeah, I know. But I mean, at a certain point, I mean, Trump is. I wish they had enough brains to know when someone is in decline. They sort of know it. So, I mean, in a way, I think in a way, the GOP is being punished for its hypocrisy and its corruption because they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. They know they have to get rid of the guy, but they can't really get rid of the guy. What's McCarthy going to do? If McCarthy speaks out against him, he's lost. What McCarthy doesn't know yet is that he's going to lose the House in any case, and then he's going to be thinking.
All like they're thinking, oh boy, as soon as we take over, we're going to impeach Biden.
Yeah, for what?
For what?
I mean, because, one of the things would be to say, people sometimes say, well, Democrats shouldn't, including Merrick Garland, right? Well, we shouldn't indict the president because he was president. Well, the reason you get indicted is because you did something wrong. If you didn't do anything wrong, how are you going to indict someone?
Exactly.
How does that work? It's crazy. So to me, if you've done it wrong, indict. Now, my feeling has always been that Garland's strategy is to let the committee move forward and present things and then act because he has cover then, to say there was a bipartisan thing. I think that's his main worry,
Okay.
But it's just that people are really impatient and they think, hey, this is just.
When are we going to get something?
Yeah.
But
exactly.
why isn't Trump mentioning anything about abortions? He's not said a word about it.
Why he hasn't?
Yeah. He's not even taking credit for the people that voted for anti-Roe versus Wade.
Well, I mean, in part, see that topic, I mean, think about it. The Republicans aren't mentioning it either because they want to talk about the leak. They know that it's a topic that that is popular with the greater electorate, so they don't want to talk about it. They want to say it's because of the leak and the word doesn't want to cross their lips, so to speak. And I think Trump knows the same thing, that it's not a popular topic, so he doesn't want to wait in there. If anything, I don't know if you saw that there was a clip, who carried it? I forget, but there was a clip where in his younger years, I think it was the 90s, he's on camera saying, oh, abortion, that's something, it's really abhorrent to me. But he said, women have to have the choice. It's something that, I'm sorry, but I have to be pro-choice.
And, he paid for plenty of them.
Yeah. What?
So he should know.
I know. That's the other thing. That's the other irony. I mean, I think the most dispiriting thing about this era we're in is that just the level of corruption that is tolerated, is insane. It's never been the case. It used to be that this kind of thinking, this kind of background, this kind of record, you would just be done. They throw you out. And now,
Oh, I remember a Republican that I can still see his face. He had glasses, kind of balding, white guy, tall. And he was anti-gay, everything anti-gay. And he got arrested for trying to hustle a plainclothes police officer in a bathroom at the airport.
Oh, was that the guy? Not the same guy that was in the stall, right? That's a different guy.
It was the stall, and he was
the stall guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah,
but he was anti-gay.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing that it's to me, it's when you reach that level in politics, it's really bad for the country. So my prayer is that because I assign it to the Neptune cycle, which is 2011 to about 2025, which on the one hand is great for things like the YouTube expansion and a lot more information and the spiritual realms. That part is really good. The problem is the other side of that coin is disinformation, deceit. I mean, all this garbage where people live in invented realities. They just tell you things that aren't true. Like I've had comments on my channel of people saying, remember back when Biden came into office, they were saying things like, no, he's not president. President Trump is still flying on Air Force One. And I thought, where are you getting that? No, it's definitely true. And they tell other people, and then they all go on that channel and they talk about it. It's like
I
that
don't know
logic.
how many dates we got that they said, oh, on May, I think the last one was May 3rd or 4th, President Trump will be reinstated.
Yeah, reinstated to what? President Trump will reinstated to the loony bin where he belongs. That's where he's going to be reinstated.
Now, listen, I am not feeling Osberger at all. In fact, Oz is an embarrassment. Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz. Yeah, well, Dr. Oz is going to have to run. I believe he's running for Senate. That's a statewide race, right? As soon as you do that, you are way more at risk because there you've got two big blocks facing off. The block that follows him, they're Trumpers, whatever, they're going to still vote. But those people in the middle, they're the ones that can go, this guy's too much. And plus he's a liar because he said the opposite, we'll vote.
They can show that. And also he doesn't live in the state he's running, Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, the man he's coming off. I used to actually a couple of times watch his show and I didn't realize how corrupt he is,
Well, I remember that show he had where he was working at his hospital and he was following certain patients. And then there was a big article that came out that the big people, like the attendings, etc., were going to walk out of that hospital if they didn't stop Oz from doing this show. They had absolutely no respect for him. And I remember feeling, but Oprah backs him, like, really?
Yeah, well, you get things like that though.
But I'm not blaming Oprah. Oprah thought he was special back in the day, and now you find out that he's a nothing burger.
No, and you can't get it perfect. And it's like Will Smith, went from being this megastar to now he's in the penalty box for quite a while.
Yeah,
you gotta.
But at least he feels bad. He really does feel bad for what happened.
Apparently, he went to India to meditate.
He did.
I think that's funny, but at least it's a good impulse. Yeah, he apparently he's gone on a journey to.
Yeah, because I think he genuinely was really sad about what, I don't know what caused him. That's one of those things you do in your life that you review and say, why did I do that?
Yeah, he had a lot of, there was a lot of challenging planetary energy, but see, that's the thing. You can have challenging planetary energy, but then it's what you decide to do with it, right? So the fact that you get really irritated inside and really, that doesn't mean you have, you don't go up and, he could have gone up to Chris Rock and just talked to him and said, I didn't like that at all. I think you're an effing idiot. And then he walks back.
Yeah.
That's fine. People would have said, what did he say? No big deal.
And there's to say it backstage. Don't do it in front of the camera.
Yeah, no, even there, he could have done anything short of that. If he goes up and he says something, but then he slaps him and he swore twice,
Yeah. But he laughed when they first told him. When Chris Rock first said that joke, they panned the camera and he's laughing. Will Smith is laughing. It's his wife that got that look on her face.
Yeah, and now they're splitting up too.
He had to rescue his wife. So, I mean, good for him, but it was a bad choice. Bad choice.
Yeah, now he's separating from his wife as well. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's very sad. It's like what's his name too? I used to adore him back in the day. What was his name? The English actor that got caught with a prostitute.
The guy in Love Actually. Hugh Grant. Yeah.
And I'll never forget him going on some show. Maybe it was David Letterman, and David Letterman said, "What the hell were you thinking?"
Yeah. Well, he wasn't. That's just the point.
Well, some was thinking, but it wasn't in his brain.
He should have said, well, that's not a thinking thing.
But he was looking for a quick job and, this hooker and, oh God, he made her popular.
Yeah, no, and the thing is that you can't fault people like Oprah sometimes, like Hillary or Bill Clinton at one point. Well, not just Bill Clinton. A number of other people were backing that lady that had the blood scandal. They thought she was the second coming of some kind of thing. She was an amazing business lady. It didn't occur to them that she was a total shyster. Stuff like that happens, but it's how you recover from those things.
They haven't come up with how long she's going to spend in jail yet.
Not yet, but she might get a few years, because on the chart sort of shows, that it's including same with the guy that she was allied with. That's another. Yeah. Are you getting any hit on the guy in Ohio, JD Vance? The one that that one is a mystery because I can't get a birth time, but I'm really curious because that's another potential loss to the Republicans because he picked a candidate that is very controversial and he's running against an incumbent Democrat. I think his name is Ryan in Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, and that I don't know enough
Ryan's gonna
about.
win. Ryan's gonna win.
Ryan's going to win. Well, then there's an example. You see, because it's the thing. Trump always picks. That's why he picked Oz. The story is that the guy that is right next to Oz, his name is McCormick. He was the logical choice to back, but Trump wanted to back the person with the TV personality. He always goes for whoever's been on TV.
And someone with some cash to hand it to him under the table.
You think? Okay, well, that might be it. That I don't know. But
and that Oz is so embarrassing. He's so embarrassing. And Donald Trump picked me. Donald Trump picked me. Oh my God. If Trump came to a full stop, Oz's head would go all the way up his rear.
Well, okay. That paints it. That's exactly, that's what people say about people like Ted Cruz, and the like. I mean.
Oh, now what about Cruz? Have you taken a look-see on him at all? Hopefully, are we going to get rid of him pretty soon?
I don't get that feeling that for one thing, I believe he wasn't it, didn't he win his last one in, when was it, 2018 or 2020? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Is he up in 24?
Let me look. But I'm hoping that, I actually felt, this is my feeling. I felt like a lot of these guys are going to be surprised, especially McConnell. I think that's when McConnell takes down the gap. It's like, I'm done, because they're going to lose so badly.
It would not surprise me, right? Based on, the thing is, it can sound simplistic, but because I'm going on, but when I say that, I mean, this one factor that to me is really suspicious, and I had seen it last year. I just asked the question, why is Biden so happy in November of 2022? I mean, come on, tell me what could possibly, right?
Because then he can get some stuff done.
Yeah, because the other thing too is that it's not a passing moment in that Biden's chart gets a lot easier in 2023 because the Saturn cycle for him, 2020, the year of the election, 21 and 22, it's pretty bad, pretty hard. Saturn is roaming around, pushing into things. But then when it goes into Pisces, it supports Scorpio, and he's got a lot of Scorpio planets, right? So then he goes into 3 solid years where the energy is smoother, which, what do you point to when you see that?
Right.
You're a politician. His whole political future is riding on that.
And if we win bigly, he can get so much stuff. When is he up for re-election?
Well, in
2022.
Cruz. Okay, well, that one I have to study a little more. The last time I had looked, it didn't look like that. But the key thing.
Oh no, never mind. He's next up for re-election in 2024. Never mind.
Okay, so in 24. So then is Beto his opponent, or is it someone else?
Beto's running against a governor. He's trying for governor against that whack job, the one in Texas.
Oh, the guy the guy in the wheelchair that's passing all those laws.
I really feel Beto's going to win. I really do.
That's possible. I got to study that one. The thing with that is that I don't have times for either Beto or the incumbent.
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to be sitting down with all these people, and I do a night of just concentrating between the cards and the pendulums. And then I post it. I have a list of all my predictions. And my friend who runs she doesn't run the political realm. She works for a lot of people in the Democratic. She said, Linda, we looked at your chart. And because I said the 2 senators from Georgia were going to win. After your predictions that you are 90% correct.
That's good. Yeah, that's a great record. Yeah.
Well, it's not me, it's my guides.
Well,
because see, the hard part is hating some of these Republicans so bad. I want so bad for them to lose. I have to be very careful. I have to be able to step out of myself One time when I was talking to everybody and I was like, Beto's gonna win as senator, I was all happy. And then right in the middle of that tape, my guide said, no, Linda, he's not. He
Right.
won't win. But don't worry, he has bigger and better coming up. So I told everybody at that moment, oh my God, you guys, my guides just said he's not gonna win for senator.
Yeah,
And
no,
he
and you,
didn't.
yeah, and you have to, I mean, and that's the thing. It's just that it is fun and great when who you want is who you're also getting the message about. That was when back in 2020, I kept getting Trumpers attacking me saying, you're just totally biased, because I just said, no, it so happens that I really dislike this guy and he's going to lose. So I'm doubly happy, right?
Oh,
What can I tell you?
saying, oh, I put money, girl, lady, you don't know what you're talking about. Thanks for calling me a lady, but yeah, that's the only reason I even started YouTube, was to let everybody know this too shall pass. And the other thing that was in my gut, in my heart realm, was all this talk about, oh, you know, history shows that the Democrats are going to lose because the Democratic president, that's how history. And all the time I had this weird feeling like, no, that's not how it's going to be. And I felt like the Republicans were going to hand it over on a silver platter. And sure enough, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, they're kind of, yeah. And I mean, and the way the events are playing out, because, it makes you wonder how maybe the Supreme Court, maybe they think that they need to do it now for some reason. That maybe that's the logic, you know?
Yeah, I just know that the Supreme Court is going to be revamped. I know Biden, once he gets in there and he gets his freedom to do what they need to do, oh, everybody's going to complain. And, you know, maybe in 2024, as we get into 2024, I don't know if he'll have the backing like he has. It's almost like people will say, okay, you did a lot, but you did too much, and might want to stifle him in 2024. But he's going to be able to get a lot done.
Before
President
24.
Biden.
Before 24.
The thing is, the most important thing is that Trump will be a has-been.
Yeah. Well, he already
because
is.
everything he touched fell apart and the rats are jumping off the ship was my visualization years ago. Then nobody wants to be, they're looking at him like this, you know, somebody take out the dirty laundry. He's just going to be a has-been. I do not see him running in 2024.
No, nor do I. I think that's my perception too. Do you still see though Biden? Because my sense is Biden's chart. Look, if I had Biden's chart, I would run for president, especially if I'm already president.
And he's probably going to run again in 2024. I don't think age is significant, but I'm just saying that we're going to do so much. Remember, I don't know how long you've been watching me, but you know, President Roosevelt has come to me on numerous occasions.
No, I've heard you say this.
Before I knew it was Biden, and then this light came around him, and President Roosevelt said to me, Linda, he's going to do the New Deal. He's going to do things like I did. He's going to get his hands dirty. He's going to make sure this country brings itself up, because he's talking union. He's talking talk to the middle class. So I just see him doing so much work. The only ones that are going to complain are those idiot Republicans that hate spending money on anything other than corporate. And here's the other thing I felt too. I know, thank you. My guys were so cool. Because remember when they told me about the war and I went outside and I told everybody, oh, you guys, it's going to be terrible. I saw death. I saw ships catching on fire, blah, 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 media being killed. And then I felt, my guide said, don't worry, Linda, this will be the beginning of the end of Putin. And I felt, this is what I was getting, you can tell me what you think, because Putin's getting out of the picture. It's not that Russia will still have a hard time with oligarchs in there or whatever, but I'm feeling like the money that these rich people have been holding on to starts coming out of their hands, and they won't be able to pay off people like they used to. You know, they just voted today that we have to have, what do they call it for the Supreme Court? You got to have standards. You have to show that we just passed something that the Supreme Court has to show, like, in other words, Thomas is going to have to step rescind or not be involved in anything related to the January.
Oh,
6th.
do you mean the like conflict of interest and things like
Yes,
that?
we just passed that. This is the kind of stuff that's going to happen. So they're going to make it to where, the big money's not going to rule us anymore.
Well, I mean, there I go to the bigger cycles, but it's been my feeling too that it's the outer planets, right? When they shift signs, you get these big movements,
Yeah.
and Neptune, Pluto, the two of the most outer, are switching right around the next election. So then you go into a long swath where the energy is different. And one of them, for instance, would be the idea that people say crazy things like we're living in a post-truth era, like almost implying you can just say anything and everything's going to be fine. I think that's going to switch. And
That's going to stop where you can't
Right.
make stuff up.
Yeah. And the other one is, my understanding is more toward the people, because the sign we've been in since 2008 is what promotes authoritarianism, autocrats, fascists. And you can see that cycle was at the height around when Trump came into power. And then you had Bolsonaro, you had the European guy, Brexit happened in 20. So it's this impulse to, give energy to that kind of thinking. But to me, it's in its last legs. It's moving, to ebb and disappear. That's how I would.
People are evolving. Humans are waking up. People have lost loved ones from one of the worst pandemics ever. Energy wise, it just feels like we're awakening, and we're different now. And our youth is coming in and says, F this. No, we don't want to put up with this. And this Elon Musk thing, everybody's carrying on about, oh my God, he's going to let Trump back on Twitter. And you know what I said? Yeah, have at it. Because he's going to blow himself up like he normally does.
Yeah, no, they come
back on Twitter. I would block him. I had to block Elon Musk because I can't. That guy's crazy. Yeah, I didn't even have a bad opinion about him, really. But now that he's been on Twitter, the things he's saying is off the wall.
Yeah, well, he's not. Elon Musk strikes me as a brilliant and part of his brain, and really emotionally stilted, emotionally dumb in the other, because he says things that aren't funny and thinks they are, and he says things that he thinks are wise and they're not. So.
And then right now he's under investigation too. So we don't know if this whole Twitter thing's coming down for him. There's a big investigation on how he even got this thing going. How did he get this money for what he's doing? Yeah, well, the line on Trump is that I've connected to is that putting him on Twitter would help the Democrats, because this is the thing. A person like that, he creates fear, and fear and loathing. It's that sense. I can't stand you and you scare me. So then more people vote. Andre, I'm telling you, I was feeling this before. He's at these rallies, all these people on the news and stuff are going, he's not talking about anything for the future, anything to help the people. It's only about him having this thing stolen from him. And the fact that he could remember 5 things, a tree, a dog. He talks about that story over and over again. And, and they said, I'm pretty genius. They said that, by God, how did you do that? They said. I know. He identified a picture of a rhinoceros, of a camel, a camera, a woman, and a TV. I mean, anyways, I don't know what's more crazy, that he says it or that the people in the audience don't reject him immediately. But because I would look at a person coming all this way to see him speak, and that's what they get. Nothing about, like Biden today. It's about the middle class, that unions. I mean, he's for unions. I'm not necessarily a union fan. My unions suck, but sometimes they can be good. But, he was like, he's for people getting right pay, doing this and that. What is wrong with that conversation? What could they possibly say is so horrible about that? Well, nothing. No, but it's, I mean, even if you are not totally for unions, just the impulse to help the middle class and the people that need help, because it's the thing. Or maybe even to fend off the unions, some of these big corporations to start paying their people fat, instead of barely letting them live, giving them some health care and stuff like that. Yeah. No, I think a lot of that, it's just that, people have to realize in politics, you could say this is true even for an individual person, but in the political realm,
you got to be patient. The waves happen, but they take a little bit more time than you would prefer. Of course, we want to snap our fingers and go, okay, that's it. Let's fix this. It's not that simple. There are too many moving parts, and you should be thankful that in a way that it does, because we could be living in Russia. I mean, then what do you have? Then you can't do anything, right? Then you're
Can't use
basically
the word war and, oh,
no, you can be put in jail for 15 years just for saying, whatever. So, although I thought it was quite remarkable that those two journalists hacked into the newspaper and then left the country, but they put, and then it was like reading CNN, except no, not CNN. It was like reading that site called Raw Story, where they show you all the, center left to extreme left points of view. Everything is down with Trump, down with Cruz, it was Putin is a traitor, Putin is a liar, Russia is murdering everybody in Ukraine. And it took them a while to take it down. And they also hijacked the TV guide, when people are looking at the.
Yeah, oh, I saw that. That was great. Yeah. I think Rachel Maddow had that on, right?
Rachel Maddow had it on, yeah. So it's pretty, it's just the thing with Putin that you can see that the chart energy is reflecting in what's happening to him. Things are not working out the way he thought, right? No. And, once you get the ball rolling that way, it's hard to stop it. It's hard to stop it.
And I think he's terminally ill. And I think he thought, well, let's go in. Let me take Ukraine real quick before I go. So it's on my gravesite that I was the hero that brought back, I saved Ukraine. And now it's a nothing burger. Now, listen, I feel real good about Ukraine. Do you think Zelensky's got it going there?
I do, but not right away.
Okay.
I think it's going to take at least until next year, like a solid year or so, because when you see in his chart, first of all, Zelensky's done really well with what he has, because what he has going is pretty risky, and he's managed to get the US to help him. And so all the death that he has in his chart is showing up as that a lot of his people are being killed, which is awful, but it could be him. So, that's a win in that sense. But you can see all this cyclical energy that takes a good couple of years where things will come around, but not right away, because he's on that point in the cycle. Yeah, including that being an Aquarius, until Saturn gets out of Aquarius, once you're in a war, forget it. You're just going to be, up to your eyeballs in tension.
Even if Putin dies, then
probably even if Putin dies, because the way these things work, if Putin died tomorrow, or next month, that doesn't mean Russia will let up for a few months. I mean, it's the usual thing that everybody thinks, well, as soon as that happens, instant. Nah, it could be end of the year, or, it gets extended. But yeah, I think he's done phenomenally. That's all I can say. Phenomenally. Yeah.
You got Bono, YouTube down there.
Yeah, no, when you start inviting people to walk the streets of Kyiv, it's pretty great. Nancy Pelosi was over there.
I know, isn't that fantastic?
It is. I mean, normally you'd think, well, be careful in case they shoot a missile at you.
Gee, but I don't see Ted Cruz going. I don't know about you, but I'm willing to send him a ticket.
To go to Ukraine? He's not going to go to Ukraine. Ted Cruz? Ted Cruz wants to go to Mexico.
But one last point. One of the things I brought this whole thing up with Putin. Once the Russia factor becomes more civilized, then those people sitting in the United States office that, like all those guys that went to Russia for the 4th of July, payments goes down. Payments not happening anymore.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look, Russia is basically a corrupt den of thieves. I learned recently something that I didn't know. When there was that trouble in Catalonia in Spain, they wanted to separate from Spain. And this goes back 2017. It was around when Trump came into power, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a pretty intense situation. It got really ugly. Well, it turns out the Russians were offering the separatist guy 500 billion in crypto if he needed it to separate from Spain. And they were even offering him soldiers if it got tough to separate. Russia's been doing this for a long time. They want to break up Europe any way they can because it benefits them. Like that's Brexit. People say that it was Putin's messaging that did a lot of that. But now it's all coming out. and they're not having very good effect anymore. The oligarchs are, they've been rejected. Finland and Sweden want to come online. So this is where, democracies were really suffering, but because of what Putin did, Biden jumps in and unifies the Democratic bloc. That's good for democracy, right? Because this is where people don't realize it's important to do that. I mean, the world is one village now, and you know that China, big power, they're authoritarian. Russia is like a mafia. They're also authoritarian. Then you have like Saudi Arabia, countries like that, where patriarchal stuff, right? It's the Western bloc that can keep the world alive for freedom. Otherwise, then we're being ruled by some thug, who tells us what to do. You can't open your mouth.
Listen, he has stuff on everybody. He tried to, that's probably why people like Ivy and Lindsey Graham turned on a dime. They probably got videos of him.
Wouldn't surprise me, yeah, because this is the thing, right? The way Lindsey Graham behaves, how is it possible for a man like that to be honest? It can't be, because he lies through his teeth. So there's usually more than one place.
But he didn't used to be like that. He wasn't this bad like he is now.
Well, that was when McCain was holding his hand, or like McCain was carrying him around on a leash. Sorry, I mean, I don't mean to be too disrespectful, but
that was, yeah, I see what you're saying.
It was pretty much like that.
So you're going to have me on your show in the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks?
Definitely, yeah, okay. Yeah. And I look forward to it too. Thanks.
I look forward to it. It was wonderful.
As always.
Covered a lot of stuff.
As always, excellent.
Thank you. We had a good time.
All right.
Thank you, guys.